Okay, let's jump into this. We're looking at something that, well, many of us worry about, right? Layoffs.
Hmm.
And usually when we think about who gets let go, certain assumptions just pop up. Is it, low performance?
Yeah, or maybe the highest salaries.
Right, or maybe the newest people, the last ones in.
Exactly. Those are super common assumptions, and they feel logical, on the
Yep,
surface.
sure.
But the source we're diving into today, it really challenges that conventional thinking. Quite a bit, actually.
Oh.
It suggests the reasons are often, well, less clear-cut, more
Human.
human. Okay, that sounds interesting already. So what's the source?
We're basing this deep dive on an article titled Why Employees Are Often Let Go During Layoffs and How to Secure Your Future.
Okay,
It's by Obsidian A. Freeman, and it was published by Fazioli Publishing.
got it. Freeman.
Yeah.
Okay, and our mission here then is,
Well, basically, to pull back the curtain, using this article as our guide, to understand the real dynamics that might be at play during layoffs.
and maybe even more importantly, to figure out what actionable things the source suggests you can do,
Yeah.
to build some real security,
Mm.
not just at work, but maybe more broadly in life.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. You mentioned it's more human, because the core idea the article pushes,
Yeah.
it's not just some corporate survival tip, is it?
No, not at all. It frames it as a much bigger life lesson, something that applies, well, everywhere.
Okay, lay it on us. What's the big revelation?
So the surprising thing, according to this source, is that when layoffs happen, the decisions, they're often less about your specific tasks or your job title,
Mhm.
maybe even your performance metrics.
Okay, less about performance.
That's what it argues, and much, much more about your relationships, your visibility within the company, particularly like how you connect with upper management.
Wow. Okay, so hold on. You could be absolutely crushing your targets, technically a top performer,
Hmm.
but if the key people making the calls don't really know you or, I don't know, feel some kind of connection, you might still be vulnerable.
That's the suggestion.
Yeah, that feels
Good.
deeply counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But an article, it makes a pretty strong case that when things get tough and decisions have to be made fast,
Yeah.
they aren't always just based on, objective data on a spreadsheet. They get tangled up with interpersonal stuff, who knows who, existing alliances.
Alliances.
Yeah, and the sort of established power structures in the company.
Power structures. Okay, let's dig into that a little. What does the source mean by power structures here? How does that influence who stays and who goes?
Well, the source suggests that employees who are just kind of unknown, maybe haven't actively built positive relationships with senior leaders,
Okay.
or perhaps they lack someone higher up who's really championing them, an advocate.
Sponsor kind of thing.
Exactly. Those people, the article argues, are often the easiest targets for removal. There's no strong voice speaking up for them when the decisions are being made in that room.
Okay. So it's not just being good at your job. It's being known for being good.
Hmm.
And having people, influential people who actually value you and your contribution.
Precisely. And the article points out something else, too, something quite strategic, maybe.
Go on.
It suggests that layoffs can actually become opportunities for managers themselves.
Opportunities. How so?
Well, they might use the situation to, say, restructure their teams in a way that boosts their own influence. Or maybe promote people they favor who align with their vision.
Or remove people they don't see eye to eye with.
Or remove individuals they perhaps see as less supportive of their specific goals. Yeah, that's implied.
Wow. So managers aren't just like passively carrying out orders. Some might be actively shaping things to strengthen their own position within the company.
That's certainly the picture the source paints. It suggests that managers, maybe especially those who feel their influence is a bit limited day to day, might see layoffs as a chance to solidify their internal networks, advance people they trust, people who support them.
Which, okay, loops us right back to this really surprising core point. Performance, while obviously it matters, of course, it isn't the only factor. And maybe sometimes not even the main factor in who stays and who goes.
According to this article,
Yeah.
absolutely not the only factor. It explicitly says even high-performing employees can be at risk.
Yeah.
If they lack those crucial relationships with the key decision makers, just, excelling at your tasks but doing it in isolation, that's maybe not enough insurance.
Okay. So if this idea that relationships, visibility, aligning with influence, if that's so critical, especially when things are uncertain, like during layoffs,
Yeah.
where else does this apply? You said it's a broader life lesson.
Yeah, this is where the article really broadens the lens. It argues this isn't just about your 9 to 5.
Okay.
The same basic principle, it argues, applies across other really key areas of life. It draws parallels to building security and success in things like wealth, knowledge, health, family, even running your own business.
Okay, let's break that down then. We've talked career build connections, be visible. What about wealth? How do relationships connect to financial security?
Well, the source draws a pretty direct line. Just like workplace connections can impact your job stability and career path,
Right.
your financial health can also heavily depend on who you know. Think about it, connecting with mentors who've, successfully navigated financial
Or
challenges.
finding good advisors.
Trusted advisors, yeah, or even peers who share insights or opportunities. The idea presented is that networking isn't just for job hunting. It's seen as pretty crucial for financial growth and resilience, too.
Interesting. And knowledge. The source mentioned focusing on soft skills there.
Right. So while your technical skills, your hard skills, are like the currency for doing the job,
Mm-hmm.
the source really emphasizes that it's the interpersonal skills, things like clear communication, empathy, being able to handle conflict, emotional intelligence, EQ.
It's the soft stuff?
Exactly, the soft skills. Those are what let you actually build and maintain those critical relationships we've been talking about. They're the tools for navigating all these complex human interactions effectively, which, as we're seeing, seems key everywhere.
Okay. How about health? Connecting relationships to health seems maybe less obvious at first.
Yeah, but the source frames it around the importance of having a strong support network.
Ah, okay.
So actively cultivating relationships with friends, family, even good healthcare professionals, it creates this vital safety net.
How so?
These connections, they offer emotional support when things are tough, right? They can provide accountability for staying healthy. They're described as really critical for both mental and physical well-being. Your personal network is part of your health strategy, essentially.
Fascinating connection. And family. The article hints workplace dynamics can mirror family ones.
It does, yeah. It points out that strong, stable families often rely on, consistent communication, having shared goals, mutual respect, understanding.
Sounds like a good team.
Exactly. It draws a clear parallel to the principles needed for effective teams or organizations. That ability to manage those fundamental human bonds. It's universal, the source suggests.
And lastly, what about business, like outside of a traditional job?
All right, so here, the source points out that if you're running your own show, your success relies heavily on your ability to lead, influence, collaborate.
Makes sense.
Building solid relationships with everyone, stakeholders, employees, partners, customers. It isn't just like a nice to have. It's presented as absolutely fundamental to driving success, getting through challenges, and building something that lasts.
So yeah, this principle, intentionally building valuable relationships, being visible, understanding the dynamics, it really does seem to be the common thread the source is pulling through all these different areas of life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so given all that, what concrete things does the article actually suggest you should do? What are the actionable takeaways to, secure your future?
Right. Based on this whole relationship-centric view, the source offers several clear strategies. The first one is pretty straightforward. Make yourself known.
Okay.
Don't just assume your excellent work speaks for itself and will get noticed automatically.
Mm.
You need to actively find ways to make sure the key people, the decision makers, understand what you contribute.
And how it helps the team or the company overall.
Exactly. How it aligns with the bigger picture. Visibility isn't about ego, the source implies. It's actually crucial.
Makes total sense, especially given the point about being unknown makes you vulnerable. What's next?
Develop authentic connections. The source really hammers this point. It's not about just collecting contacts or superficial networking.
So no glad handing.
Right. It's about genuinely engaging with leaders, trying to understand their pressures, their challenges, and position yourself as someone who can help them succeed, a resource. Building that rapport before you might ever think you need it.
Proactive connection building.
Okay.
And aligning with power or influence. How does that work?
Yes, basically, understand the landscape. Figure out who actually holds influence, who makes the key decisions, and then find ways to sort of align yourself with their priorities. Show your commitment to the objectives they care about. Being seen as an ally, someone who's on board, that could be incredibly valuable, according to the article.
Okay. Then there was stay visible and valuable.
Absolutely critical, and it kind of combines the previous points, really. Consistently look for chances to, take on projects that get noticed.
Speak up in meetings.
Contribute in meetings, yes, or lead initiatives if you can. Keep showcasing your skills and your contributions. The goal is to stay top of mind for the value you bring, not just the tasks you complete.
Right. Perceived value. And the final strategy mentioned.
Be adaptable. I mean, layoffs themselves are a huge signal of change, right?
Yeah.
So the source advises basically keep learning, stay flexible, be open to shifting your skills or maybe even your role, and be ready to look at other opportunities if you need to. Resilience often comes from being able to navigate those shifts.
Okay, so after digging deep into this article, what's the big overarching takeaway it really wants us to remember?
Well, the source leaves us with a pretty powerful, maybe even slightly uncomfortable idea
Which is?
that in those moments of real uncertainty and change, like layoffs, the strength and the quality of your relationships and the intentional effort you put into building visibility and trust with the key people, those are presented as like the fundamental drivers, the things that really underpin your security and long-term success.
And it's not just a career strategy. The article makes a strong case that this applies everywhere, right?
Absolutely, to pretty much every significant area of your life.
Yeah.
Your financial health, your personal well-being, the strength of your family connections, the success of your own ventures.
Wow.
It all seems to rely pretty heavily on who knows you, who values you, and the connections you actively build and maintain.
Yeah, it feels like a major reframe, moving away from just focusing on my individual skills and achievements towards really understanding the critical role of my human network, my connections.
Exactly. And those actionable steps the source gives, being known, building authentic connections, aligning, staying visible, being adaptable,
Yeah.
they all really stem from that relationship-first way of thinking.
It really seems to boil down to the idea that your security, your future, might depend less on what you are on paper, your title, your metrics, and maybe more on who you are to the people who matter in that context.
Precisely. Prioritizing that intentional relationship building. It appears, based on this source, to be maybe the most robust foundation you can actually build for yourself.
So here's something to really think about then, drawing straight from that concluding idea in this source. Consider any area of your life right now. Could be your career, sure, but maybe your finances, your health, mental or physical, your personal goals.
Yeah.
Could your security and success in those areas depend less only on your individual skills or what you achieve on your own, and perhaps even more on the strength and quality of the relationships you've intentionally built, and on who genuinely knows you and values what you bring to the table? What areas in your life could maybe benefit from making relationship building a higher priority starting, today?